Good morning, it's time for Minivan Story Time. Hey, 20 years ago, I was working at an outdoor education center in Bellefonte, Ohio, and I was assistant summer camp director for a large resident camp, 200-300 kids a week at resident camp, another 50 or 60 at day camp. Leading up to camp, part of my job was to hire staff and to prepare the program, things like that, and I was in charge of the staff over the waterfront, boating, swimming, things like that, fishing. So it was required that I become a lifeguard. Now, in 1996, I was a little more svelte than I am now. I was in shape. I was a lot smaller, a lot stronger, a little more agile. But I'd never been a lifeguard. I was never really a strong swimmer. But I was going to become a lifeguard so I could manage lifeguards and waterfront staff. So we get the staff into camp a week early before staff week, and we are all going to do this lifeguard certification together. There's a lot of classroom work, there's a lot of first aid and CPR, then a little bit of swimming and rescues and how to enter the water, that kind of stuff. So the first day on Monday morning, we're going to start this training, and the kitchen staff, as a way to welcome the new waterfront staff to camp, prepared this crazy buffet. I remember the head cook at camp coming in that Monday morning, and it was the typical fruits and bagels and danishes and yogurts, plus bacon and eggs and biscuits and gravy, and there was juice and coffee and milk. It was really over the top as a welcome. And having lived at camp since mid-January, we were not accustomed to such fine dining, so those of us who were year-round staff really partook and enjoyed the breakfast fully. Mind you, we're all about 22, 23, 24. We were young. We lived at camp year-round. It was our job, and so that food was awesome. So that morning, the director came out and greeted us, and we all had breakfast and maybe a little too much breakfast and coffee, and we talked and laughed, got to know each other. Then we loaded up in a van and headed into town to the YMCA because they had a pool where we just had the lakefront, and it was still a little chilly to be in the lake. So we went to the pool, and where we thought we were going to begin our first aid training, CPR training, and classroom training. So we get to the pool, and we get in our trunks, we're wearing t-shirts, we're all just kind of hanging around the pool, and that's when the director and the class instructor said, "All right, everybody in." So everybody's in the water. He tells us to line up in the shallow end. We all line up. There's about 10 of us. And he says, "Okay, 1 mile, go." And we all kind of looked at him, and he's like, 1 mile, that's 64 up and back, I think is what the number was. Might have been more. It's a big pool. And he looked at us again. He said, "Go 1 mile." So we put our faces in the water, and we began pounding it out. Somewhere around 3/8 of a mile, I realized that breakfast was a mistake. I made it to half mile when I quietly exited the pool on my own. Made a quick walk into the shower house, gave breakfast back to the earth, and cleaned up, got back in the water, pounded out another half mile on the front crawl. I don't know if there's a lesson here, but I do know that morning I'll never forget. 5 days later, I became a lifeguard, and 2 weeks later, I made my first rescue of a cute little kid from the inner city of Detroit. But I'll never forget about that breakfast buffet. I never forget a meal like that. I'll never forget about lifeguard training and half mile in, stopping to think twice about that breakfast and then finishing that mile swim. Today, can I swim a mile? No, I barely drive a mile to work, and I don't like it when I have to. But there's your story for today. Brian, the lifeguard, 100 pounds ago, when he could eat like a champ, swim like a champ, and save a kid during the summertime like a lifeguard should. So there's your story this week. Go find a stranger, tell a story, make a friend, and I'll see you guys back here in the minivan next week for another story. All right, bye guys.